Hi, I'm Ron. This is Cold Warrior 78 channel, and we're going to do a little investigating today into a project I started, a test project, I guess I should say, probably 4 years ago. I don't exactly remember when we did this. So stand by and I'll show you what we're up to. Alrighty, so this ugly thing that you see on the table in front of you is a Cashe, or Cashe, it's probably better pronounced, that I put in the ground I think about 4 years ago. And as you can kind of see through the mud, duct tape and a blue tarp around the outside. I believe there were a couple other layers on the inside, but frankly I don't exactly remember. We can see right now that some of the tape has gotten wet and coming off. There's some mud down here, so the seal was compromised at that level at least a little bit. And the goal is going to be, how dry is it on the inside? So let's go with this. Now, this is not a root, this is actually a handle that I put on this so I could grab it up and out. That's actually a piece of 550 cord. It's actually in surprisingly good condition for being underground. This is just M1A1 duct tape, whatever you find in Home Depot. Okay, obviously it's wet. I did not bury this terribly deep. It was, let's call it the depth of a shovel, the head of a shovel. So what's that, like 8 inches or so? Gotta try to clean the crap off my hands as I do this. Okay, so as we unwrap, we're getting water on the inside of the tarp. This is I guess you'd call it a medium duty. It's not the cheap ones you get out of Walmart. They're a little bit heavier than that. This was a scrap off of a piece that was originally, I believe, 12 by 12 or something like that. So it's a heavier tarp than you usually use. Oh, let me bring this around to show you something. Stand by. Alright, so right in here we've got literally a puddle of water. So that doesn't necessarily bode well for the rest of this being dry and protected. But we're going to see. More duct tape. Now I put the tape on the tarp to give it a harder kind of exterior. Inside the tarp, this is a garbage bag. Don't remember, I'm guessing probably a lawn bag, not terribly thick. The outside of it, I mean, you can see right here, we've got water all over on the inside of the tarp. So I'm going to get this out of the way so I don't contaminate in case this is dry on the inside. Oh, there we are. Made a mess on the floor. Wonderful, Ronald. I'll have to clean that up in a minute. Okay, we're back again after a little bit of a cleanup, wipe down. This is why you do this on a project table and not on your wife's good dining room table. You know, my wife would have had a cow if I did this on the dining room table, and for good reason. So this one I'm not going to try to unwrap. I'm just going to cut off because it's just a garbage bag. If I remember how I did this, it is in the garbage bag, and then the garbage bag is wrapped around multiple times. Sorry, my dog is reacting to a squirrel outside. You want to go out? If you guys want to double speed over top of this section, go right ahead. There we go. Another layer. It's all in one bag. There we go. If you do this, keep your fingers out of the way of the knife. I hate to have to even say that, but there have been people doing stupid things. Obviously, it pays to have a sharp knife. This is one of those Milwaukee utility knives, Home Depot, like 12 bucks. For 12 bucks, it's a great knife. Okay, there's more water in here that came out of that. So obviously, some water made it through the first layer of garbage bag. This is a separate garbage bag. It's actually pretty dry. Seems like the water was caught in those layers. So let's cut this open. Get down into here. The rectangular basis is a .30 caliber Army ammo can. I wanted something that was going to be strong enough that if rodents got to it, roots. One of the things, if you're going to bury stuff, understand that there are going to be all kinds of living organisms, plant and animal, in the immediate environment. Alright, get this down here, that down there. Oh, there we go. See, it's inside once, but then it's wrapped. There we go. Alright, so this feels fairly dry. It's cool to the touch, but then that's probably just because it came out of the ground. Oh, it's in a Walmart bag. I'm sure that didn't help a hell of a lot, since that's just tied here at the top. In fact, I think I did this to make sure there were no sharp edges. Alright, so here's the ammo can. I'd say condensation, but not real wet. Condensation is something you need to consider when burying something, because if it's colder than the surrounding ground, you're going to get condensation. Moisture is going to come to it. Alright, so here's the moment of truth. Let's get this thing open and see what's going on inside. Come on. Well, okay. There we go. Alright, so first I want to look at this seal here. So stand by, I'm going to get a close-up on the seal. Okay, I want you to look right along here. This is the seal. Okay, I put some Vaseline, I guess it was. Some kind of greasy, yeah, must have been Vaseline, because that's about all I have. I was told to rub that really good with Vaseline to get, because these old Army cans, sometimes those rubber grommets, the rubber seal dries out. So I always rub them with some Vaseline or baby oil or something to try to get them good and flexible again. You never know how old some of these things really are. And then I put an extra heavy coat on it. That's why it had a hard time coming up. It's still stuck here on the edge of the can. But everything inside is nice and dry. There we go. Let's get back on tripod and we'll go through the unpacking. All right, so here's the unpacking of the can. All right, this is lightly vacuum sealed, and I did that because this plastic is heavier than a Ziploc baggie. It's also better sealed than a Ziploc baggie. My seal on my vacuum sealer was going bad, so it's not absolutely tightly sucked in. But one of the reasons I did this was to see, people were saying that you can't store a firearm. And other guys are saying, oh yeah, you can store it, you just got to grease it all up. We'll take that out and see how that is, but off the top of my head, that looks just fine through the plastic. Box of ammunition and some extra rounds for that pistol. They all look fine, still sealed, still dry. And then we put in some cash and paper and stuff like that just to see. That all looks fine as well. So by and large, everything looks great. So let me get out of this and we'll talk for a minute. All right, so what have we learned? Well, first off, if you're going to do something like this, have multiple layers. The ammo can, and I used some, again, just random ammo can that I bought surplus somewhere, don't remember where. I don't have any idea how old it is, because once you get these old ammo cans, could be a year old, could be 30 years old, you don't know. Hell, could be, by this point, even 80 years old. It didn't have any rust on it, so that was the one thing I made sure of. And I greased up the seal like you saw, so that's good. The ammo can came through just fine. The stuff on the inside of the ammo can was vacuum packed, okay, vacuum sealed. Just used a regular, food saver kind of vacuum thing. It wasn't any kind of fancy commercial operation or anything. It was just a simple little, get the air out, get the moisture out. I live in the southeast. It's wet here all the time. So if you don't take care of that kind of thing, you're going to have moisture inside your bag. I did not use any those little desiccant packs. I specifically didn't use any in this test to see how things were going to go. And it seems like they went just fine. So desiccant packs can't hurt, but never hurts to try one way or the other. So paper products, if you want to store records, you want to store cash, the firearm is fine, the ammunition is fine. So metal, as long as it's oiled first, properly, well, cleaned. If you haven't cleaned, if you're going to put a gun in the ground, make sure you clean it and then lubricate it well. And then I vacuum sealed it to get the moisture away from it. Same thing with the ammunition, vacuum sealed it to keep the moisture away from it. And then it all went into the ammo can, lubed up the top like you saw, closed the ammo can, and then I just wrapped a couple of layers of garbage bag around it, 2 different garbage bags. And then the tarp was around that to provide protection, mostly from, garbage bags aren't terribly thick anymore. It's not like you can find a 6 mil garbage bag. So these little tiny, get a hole in them, look at a cross-eyed kind of garbage bags that we have nowadays. I want to put the tarp around it, more of a physical protection. I didn't really think the tarp was going to keep it dry, and it absolutely did not. We had water inside the tarp. We had water inside the first layer of garbage bag. It was the second layer of garbage bag that actually protected the can from getting wet. The can is not rusty at all. So after 4-ish years, I don't exactly remember when we did this, but 4-ish years in the ground, the can is fine, the contents are fine, and like I said, it wasn't very deep. So when it rains hard here, thinking back in the last 4 years, we've had 20 or 30 really bad thunderstorms. We had Hurricane Helene come through here. We've had, just all kinds. It's the southeast. We get lots of water, lots of rain. And being only 8 to 10 inches in the ground, whatever the height of a shovel blade is. That's not terribly deep. If you want it better protected, deeper would certainly be better. I've got really hard clay soil, and without pickaxes and backhoes, you just don't go very deep around here. Okay, so there are lots of videos on the internet on how to do a cache, C-A-S-H-E. It's not cache, because that's a French word that has a T on the end of it, and it's a completely different thing. So caches, underground storage, whatever you want to call it, is a practical thing to do if you don't need to have access to it, let's call it a couple of years. Whether you're trying to store wealth, or I have no problem thinking that if I had vacuum sealed food and put it in here, the food would probably be fine. So the container is just something I had laying around when I wanted to do this experiment. So if you look at the videos on the internet, you've got, pieces of pipe, you've got big old boxes. You can get ammo boxes that are, 3 feet long and God knows how wide. They make them for rockets. They make them for all kinds of things. So what I did again is I got a solid container that I was comfortable putting stuff in. That or a pipe or something like that. I wouldn't, maybe a 5-gallon bucket. Maybe that'll be the next thing I do, although I got to dig a bigger hole for that. But something of that, at least with some substance that something's not going to chew its way through in 10 minutes. Vacuum seal the stuff inside, have a protective container. Hopefully it's got a good airtight, watertight seal, and then wrap it with, what garbage bags are cheap, 2-3 garbage bags. I used maybe a quarter of a roll of duct tape, not even that much. So duct tape and garbage bags. If you want to throw the tarp on the outside, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. Again, it was physical protection, not water protection. And there you go. Just, if you're thinking about this kind of thing from a survival standpoint or a supply standpoint, check your area. Try this in your area with something small. Again, you don't have to put $1 million in the ground. That's stupid. But try newspaper. If you're concerned that it's just going to go away, try newspaper. Try printing up something on a printer. Throw that in a bag. Throw that in there. Whatever kinds of things you want to experiment with. A little bit of food, maybe long-term food storage kind of stuff. Whatever you're interested in. The key is you got to keep it dry, and everything else will work out. Okay, so this is Cold Warrior 78 saying get back out in the woods. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Ron from Cold Warrior 78. I'm redoing the introduction to this video because the first one that I did yesterday, when we actually did the majority of the video, I made the assumption that people would remember some things that happened 6 and 8 years ago. Probably not a good idea. Some of you guys weren't paying any attention at all to this kind of thing 6 or 8 years ago. So let me go back into some background as to why this experiment took place at all. Years and years ago, as I was first watching preparedness videos and backpacking and just general outdoors things, there were some folks that came up with the idea of caching, that's C-A-S-H-E, supplies. In one case it was a through hiker on the Appalachian Trail was putting up supplies in 5-gallon buckets certain places along the trail because they didn't think they were going to be able to be resupplied the typical way, which is somebody mails something to you on the trail at different towns along the trail. And so that was the first time I had seen a video of somebody worrying about burying supplies. And then it seemed like after that, prepper channels and all these other folks were started talking about, you got to have extra supplies, bury in 5-gallon buckets or ammo cans, or in some cases 55-gallon drums full of supplies. The idea of bugging out was very, very popular at that time, or at least it may have been the first time it came out to the public consciousness, getting out of the cities and things like that. And the idea that you need supplies en route, and you may not be able to carry all of that with you, particularly if you have to walk somewhere. You certainly can't carry enough supplies to go more than a week, maybe 2 on the outside if you're a really good backpacker. So again, 6-8 years ago, there were a number of videos about hiding supplies, burying supplies, that whole range of you're going to need stuff, and if you don't put it up now, you're not going to have it when you need it. So based on all those, and it was a really hot topic at the time, based on all that stuff, about 4 years ago I conducted an experiment where I took the ammo can that you can see the top of here in front of you, wrapped it up in garbage bags, and then put a tarp or a piece of tarp around it, sealed it all up as best I could with duct tape, and buried it on my property. Didn't bury it very deep. It was you know, the width of the height of a shovel's head, so call it 8 inches, maybe 12 inches deep. And the rest of the video is going to go through the unpacking of that ammo can and explaining, you know, is this stuff any good after, I believe that was actually 4 years in the ground here in South Carolina, where it wasn't buried deeply enough not to be get the effects of rain, for example. If you want a more detailed study on how to cache supplies, different kind of containers and what have you, there are lots of videos on the internet. Just look around. Survival Dispatch has several. Pretty much everybody that was doing anything in the preparedness world did some of these 3-4 years ago, 6-8 years ago. I mean, it's still a topic people talk about. So I wanted to give you more of a background of why I did it. As you get into the video, you'll see that the contents, I just tried to do different things that people had concerns about whether or not you can store something like this underground for years. So there's a pistol in there, there's some ammo in there, and there's assorted paper. I took some dollar bills and stacked it up with some folded papers and things to see how it would survive years underground. And you'll see in the video how that comes out. So that was the background I wanted to give you, a better introduction to what's going on. So sit back and enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. All right, so you've seen the video of how the contents of the ammo can survived. I'm going to do a quick pack it back up video so that I can get it back in the ground, and we'll leave it out there for another couple of years and see how that works. All right, so stand by and I'll show you how that works. So again, we're starting with a 30 caliber ammo can. I've got the contents in here. They've all been shrink wrapped again. Not shrink wrapped, I'm sorry, vacuum sealed. So I'm going to start with a petroleum jelly kind of product. It's not actually Vaseline, it's something else. But anyway, just to goop it up along the gasket up here. If you're ever buying an ammo can to do this kind of thing with, make sure that it still has the black rubber grommet seal that goes along here. I guess it's not technically a grommet. I guess a seal is probably a better term for that. You don't know how the age of the ammo can if you're buying these things surplus. So I was told to go ahead and put some petroleum jelly on it just to get it flexible enough anyway to start with. And then for this, you want to give it a pretty good heavy slopping on there. That grease is going to help seal everything. Okay, that's done. Now, to mimic what I did the first time, I'm going to put it inside of, in this case, a 13, I was going to say 13 quart, that's obviously not correct. A kitchen garbage bag, not terribly thick, but this is just what I had laying around. And as an experiment, it's probably as good as any other way. You just be careful you don't make any holes in this bag. In this case, this time I'm going to tie a knot in the bag rather than do a bunch of taping on the bag. I'm going to tie that so that it's hopefully going to stay watertight. On the first one, if you remember, as I was kind of skinning my way into it, I taped all the seams, and the duct tape that I used was not entirely watertight. All right, now the second bag is a heavier 55-gallon drum liner garbage bag, contractor grade. That used to be 6 mil. I think these are actually only 3 mil nowadays. So it's thicker. It's not as thick as it used to be. So how much protection it's going to provide, we have to play with. Obviously a very large bag compared to the container that you're putting in it. I'm going to fold this one up and around. I don't know that this helps the waterproofing. The videos I watched back in the day when I was starting this all recommended wrapping it very tightly. They were obviously, depending on their duct tape, to do a lot more sealing than mine ever did. If this bores you, you can go through it at 2x or more speed. Okay, so this is the open end here, right here. I'm going to fold this down in here, actually roll it. That should make it a little bit tighter from a waterproofing standpoint. And I'll seal that with duct tape. Hopefully that'll keep the water out better than it did last time. There we go. Alrighty, and then seal this up in a fairly compact package. Sorry. Okay. Make sure there's no edges hanging out there that can put water in it. You're going to use a lot of duct tape if you do this. There are Lots of different versions, brands of duct tape, Gorilla Tape, that kind of stuff. Gorilla Tape might be better for this. I don't know. I haven't tried. I have tons of just standard duct tape hanging around, so that tends to be what I use. Stuff you can get out of, Home Depot. Get that nice and tight. I've got some seams here. Seal that up. Now, an interesting experiment would be just putting an ammo can by itself in the ground and see how watertight that is. I haven't bothered to experiment with that because I live in the southeast. It rains all the time, generally speaking. Thunderstorms, hurricanes. So I figure a little extra waterproofing wouldn't hurt. Get some more on that. Another aspect of experimentation would be, is there a difference between the brands of duct tape and their waterproofness, watertight, however you want to phrase that. I'm going to put some on here just to protect the edges of the can from breaking through anything. Corners tend to get a lot of wear. I don't want to break the seal just because a corner poked out. But yeah, there lots of people make duct tape and similar products. Nashua, 3M are probably the leaders that you can get in just general stores around here. Gorilla Tape. I don't know who used to make the old Army 100-mile-an-hour tape. It's effectively green duct tape, but I am fairly certain that stuff is waterproof. Because I seem to remember fixing all kinds of things with Army duct tape. That 100-mile-an-hour tape. But based on the video I did that you saw earlier in here, an awful lot of water got in through the duct tape. So I was kind of surprised about that. Alright, so we now have a watertight, hopefully, object. Now I'm going to wrap that tarp around it just for protection from the membrane. So stand by. Alright, so this is the same piece of tarp that I took off of it yesterday. It is medium grade, so it's not the cheap Walmart blue tarp. It's a step above that. There's probably a step above this when you get to like agricultural or industrial grade tarps. But I have a bunch of this kind of mid-weight stuff hanging around, so that's what I'm using. And the purpose of this is just to protect the waterproof layer from ground contact, rocks, logs, roots and things. And an initial keep out the critters attempt, I was pleasantly surprised that I did not have an issue with bugs getting in, because I was really concerned when I did this the first time that critters were going to be the problem. Now, the deeper that you bury it, the less chance that's going to be a problem. Most ants, worms, and what have you are going to be in the top foot or so of soil, obviously depending on your soil type. The deeper you go, the less problem you're going to have with those kind of guys. That obviously varies wildly based on where you are in the world. So you can message me and say, hey, you know, our desert ants go 4 foot down. It's like, yeah, I know that. I didn't mention it because I don't have to worry about desert ants. Let's see. You can tell that's a dirt from yesterday. I probably should have washed that, but where's the fun in that? Look at that little corner there. If you're going to do something like this, I strongly recommend writing down the location of where you buried it, or hid it even. I know people that, based on their videos, have cached things literally just buried in the leaf litter. That strikes me as a little bit insecure. But again, this is just an experiment, so I'm not an expert. There was a guy on the internet, I believe he said he was Special Forces, and he said 3 feet down. Well, that's cool, Bubba. 3 feet down in this red clay, that's going to be all day digging. And I got more important stuff to do with my life. As it is, I do enough digging in the yard for gardens and stuff. There we go. Now, getting close to the end here. Thank you for sticking with me through this. And like I said, it would make more sense if you're really trying to do a good test. Clean this so you've got nice clean tarp for it to stick to instead of all this dirt. But then if you're going to use it and reuse it, if you're in a situation, a survival situation where you need to dig this thing up, but you can't use all the supplies at one time, you've got to put it back in the ground again, you may not have the ability to clean it. So that'll be part of this part of the experiment. Now, if you want to try something like this, and I strongly recommend, you're not going to learn about it until you actually do it. You can watch all the videos in the world, but until you actually do it yourself, you're not really going to know. So, you know, where can I do this in a suburban situation, in an HOA or something? Like, you know, you have a backyard, you have a front yard. Do you have a flower garden? Do you have a small vegetable garden? At the bottom of a really big planter, you could put these things I mean, something this size isn't terribly large. You can put it almost anywhere. Just write down where you put it. Okay, this is just a handle so that it's easier to carry and I'm not going to be stressing the waterproof membrane. That's just to hold it vaguely in place. Helps it getting back out of the hole, depending on how you orient your hole. You're going to lay it flat, you're going to lay it up. There you go. A little handle on top of there, easy to carry now. Stand by. Okay, so some final thoughts. If this at all interests you, if you're watching videos about this kind of thing, you're not going to learn about it until you do it yourself. Do an experiment, whether that's with a pipe, a bucket, an ammo can, something, anything. Ice cream bucket if you want to, I don't care. But try it with something. Paper, probably one of the things that most easily deteriorate in that kind of environment. Something metal. I chose a gun simply because people talked about, yes you can, no you can't, you got to do all cosmoline grease, no you can just do a light coat of oil. A light coat of oil seemed to work fine on that gun. It's just a blued revolver. It's an old one I had hanging around. So what you bury, Cashe, isn't terribly important. It's just that you give it a try if you're interested in this kind of thing. I would imagine, based on the results that I got with this, had I put freeze-dried food or that kind of thing down in there that doesn't have a smell, it's already in its own Mylar bags and stuff, I could have filled this thing up with food and had 6 or 8 meals, you know, in a fairly small container, very easy to have handy. So if you're interested, you never learn until you do it. So figure out a place where you can do it. Do something simple. Keep a note of it, because particularly if you have woods and you say, well, I'm going to go out here, and your woods are going to change so dramatically in 6 years you may not ever find it. So anchoring your map, directions, treasure map, whatever you want to call it, off of something that is not going to go away and is not going to change, is going to be critical. So that's all I've got for you. Thanks for watching. This is Cold Warrior 78 saying get out in the woods again. Bye-bye.